Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Oh, I'm glad we finally made it. Hello, everyone. We're just waiting for Wayne to come back in. Uh, it's going all right. Not a worry. He will be here in a minute or two. I don't know why everything else isn't working, but we're working on it. Just be patient with us. I managed to get everything working, and it is hi ho cherry-o today. So there we go. Had to do some minor updates, and I don't know why this thing isn't working quite right to get the stuff. I usually have all this done, and here comes Wayne now, and here we go. Thank you all for coming. Sorry about the patience, making you wait a little bit, but yay, I fixed it.
You see, patience has its virtues.
Yes, it was an update, and then I had to shut down the computer. So hey, I figured it out. I'm like a rocket scientist, only I don't have a rocket.
Well, that's all right.
now I can't get my virtual background. It shines on my neck, but here, hang on. Usually if I do this and then I come back, and then it should work. So it's there we go.
There it is.
There, I figured it out. Look, we got this cool guy. I forget what his name is, Croner or Crone or something like that.
He's got a statue.
Yeah, he was a druid priest. So if you're wondering who this guy in the background is, he's from Ireland. Now there you go.
They got no snakes, so that's
no snakes.
But yet, in their history, their goddess was always accompanied by a snake.
Yeah, how interesting is that?
Well, it depends on, I guess, your point of view or what your interest is. Well, Robert, I'm looking forward to this. I've watched you, and it's good to see you.
Absolutely. We finally get to, we've met before on Zoom, but, hey, this is the way it is, so I'm glad we finally, and it almost didn't happen with the thing where our show would have went down, but hey, I'd never let that happen.
No.
Good times are bad. I'm on top of this. Anyway, we got a full house. Everybody's deep.
Hey, everybody!
Hey,
welcome, Soul Tribe.
Yeah, the whole Soul Tribe is coming out tonight. They are. Lucky Stone is here.
Wow, we
got
for him.
Spirited Woman. Deep Thoughts, Here and Now, Gaza Cav. He's coming on one of these days, and we're going to have a whole show about eating right and vegetable growing, and it's going to be really good. I got a ton of questions for him.
Excellent. Hey, Crystal, how are you, darling?
Yes.
Every time I see Crystal, I always think of Van Morrison.
Oh, yeah. She is really she could be like, she's like a modern day hippie.
You know what? If she had been born back when I was born, she'd have fit in perfectly. I mean, she has a gypsy soul, and I dig that. I look back in the day, Lynn and I were talking, and that the happiest I have been is when I had no material possessions.
That is so true. I mean, I was in the same boat. When I was poor, I went more places. I had more friends. I did more things. I had more adventures. Even though I had no money, I did more. I had more experiences. And then now that I have a good job, I'm like tied down to the job. I don't go places. I don't have as many friends. I got friends. I got a friend out there who might be watching, Rick. Hey,
Rick.
Yeah, I sent him a link.
You would be
first time watcher.
What we would call Gulliver.
Yeah. I love checking things out and traveling around.
Yeah. No. The metaphor being Gulliver's travels.
Yeah.
Gulliver was a giant, but he was tied down by the little vices that he had.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You see, it's the philosopher.
The philosopher, exactly. Exactly.
What can I say?
Awesome.
Anyway, so what's up?
Oh, we got more. Trina's in the house too.
Hey,
sorry she can't make it tonight, but Trina, we're thinking of you, and hoping you get better and you can come on sometime. You can be back again. And Steve from Slightly Slanted,
Hey, Steve.
he's on. He has just got such a perspective on like how things align and phrases and things and light. I mean, there's just so much. I could have him on every night. And we'd have something fresh to talk about. And Lori from Pre-Love Ascension.
Hey, Lori.
She's driving the bus with the Dranma 7. Got to give her a big shout out.
On there on the 20th.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. That's what collectively, I don't know who was all going to be on there. Sounds like a party.
Yes, it'll be a party. That's for sure. And we got
Lost in Space.
Oh yeah, Lost in Space. We got Brenda, Milky's mom.
Hey Brenda, how you doing?
Deborah Sloan, Marcia. Deborah. I tell you, she makes the great stuff. So, and we got the Rods of Raw that I can't right up here somewhere. We get the Rods of Raw. So, I usually have them sitting on my thing and I hold them in my hands, but and while we do the show, but I've been busy. So anyway, Susie Q, Celtic Warrior, David Castle, and Cajun Queen, and Chloe. Can't forget Chloe. She's usually working at these times. And Darth. I see you sent me an email. I was talking. I think Delaney Jones is not going to. From what I get, she's not going to be able to make the card reading. So Darth, I was going to send you an email, but would you like to take over the card reading spot for this semester and go to the card reading class? It's all set up, and all you got to do is participate. Hope you can. You'd like that. And Delaney, sorry if you can't come this time, but maybe next time. I still would like to get you in on that eventually. She's got things going on.
Well, that happens.
Yes. That's the world we live in. So, anyway, Wayne, we have so much to discuss. I've had a list of questions, and every time I think of something, you have a show on it, and it's like, wow, we're like in sync. And even when Brian was on, he would talk about the same things. It's like, how is this happening? We're all connected.
Yes. It's a filament,
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, we're going to start off with, because you're the philosopher, you got all these perspectives, and I made a list. I got a huge list. I went through and I'm thinking, I went through a lot of your shows today, and I thought, holy cow, you've covered like every subject there is. Hollow Earth, 0 point energy, talking with the planets with Patrick. I mean, that really got me. I bought the little the diviner thing you did, and I got my little thing, and that really got me on. And when it started working, I was freaking out like, holy cow, it's working. So I knew it was true. It was these things that led me on this journey, like you're on a journey. And it started me on that path. And and because of you, I started my own path. I mean, that's what it's all about. I think you said once that to wrote me in a letter and said, I'm on a path, you're following me. And I'm like, yeah, I am on a path. I'm on my own path. This is my journey. It ain't your journey.
Exactly.
I have to make my way. I can take some information from you and make my journey better. I mean, because we're on like simultaneous journeys here. You're doing your own thing, and and I'm doing my own thing, but they're kind of the same. So why can't I use some of that information?
Well, it's like, I used to work in NASCAR, and Richard Petty was my client. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing about in NASCAR is when you draft. So you can have a leader, and the car comes up behind the leader and drafts off the leader, and you're forming your own path, but you're using the momentum of the person who is in front of you.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I've done that. I had a little Geo Metro. You know what? I was was a 95 or something. And I used to get behind the big semi trucks, and it would literally pull the car right along,
Yeah.
I mean, and it had a little 3-cylinder. It didn't have much power, but boy, I get behind that truck and there was like no wind. It's just cruising. But you know what? If that truck ever hit the brakes, I'd have been dead.
Bam.
Yeah, it would have been a tin can.
I think
That's what
inertia would take over at that point.
Yeah, there was no. And then we did, you did Interview with an Alien Interview. Remember this book?
Yeah, I
Oh, yeah. I love that book.
Mm-hmm.
I tell
Ariel?
you. Yes. Yeah. So I mean, the nice part is you get these books, you read a little bit out of them, or you read most of them, and then it's like, here, I'm going to start you out, and then if you want, you finish. And I do, and I get there and I start these things, and it's like, what was it here? Yeah. Oh, this was a good one. You recognize this one?
Oh, yes, I do.
Yes. So that one was a really hard one to find. Really hard one.
I bet that one was.
Oh, yeah. That was a good book. We did the magic series. Remember we were talking about magic, and we got, I don't know how many other people did, but I got my magic almanac, and, I looked through there, and it's got things for the dates and different things to do, and you got your different drawings and, things. And, if you got it, you know what it is all about. So I ain't going to go into that. We did sigils.
Yes.
So we got the, sigil magic.
Oh, yeah.
I got one of the books that you recommended like this. I got that.
Oh, yes.
And this one here has been really helpful, and when I find stuff that I don't recognize, I go through there and go, holy cow. And I read about this stuff, and it's like a dictionary. Well, it kind of is a dictionary, but it's an encyclopedia. Anyway.
I always look at those books as treasure guides, because they guide you to where the treasure is. Yes,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, I got lots of other. I just got a few here, that I had for demonstration. I'm good at demonstrations.
Boy,
if you've seen my shows before, I can improvise on the fly.
So let me ask you, I'm just curious, have you learned anything from all that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
Absolutely.
Cool.
I learned that there's good things and then there's bad things that can come. And if you don't, and it says in a lot of them books, just what you say, if you're not sure and you're not comfortable, don't do it. Don't
walk away.
Yeah. Don't do it. And if you feel like it's going to help you, I think a lot of it is up in your mind. And when you put it out, you're expressing what your mind is expressing. If your mind is expressing darkness, you're going to only bring in darkness. And if you're doing positive stuff, regardless of what sigil you use or whatever, it's going to bring in some positiveness, right? Because it's your intention.
It's Dune all over. It's, and when Paul Atreides was, the Mother Superior came in with the box. Yes. And when he stuck his hand in there, it really is. Fear is the mind killer.
Yes. Yeah. You start fearing things, and then, and then, I got other things. What I do. So when you send me these PDFs, right? I'm sure you send them out to a lot of people. So I get there with the printer, and I print them all out, and I get these cheap 25-cent folders at the, at the store, and then I print them all. And I got stacks and stacks of them.
Knowledge.
Yes. And now, needless to say, I don't get to read all the books, but I do start them. Sometimes I skip through them a lot, like the encyclopedia. Nobody's going to read this whole thing from cover to cover, but they're there when you need them. They're there when you want a question, or you really say, hey, I seen something today, and now that I'm awake, I'm seeing something, and I need to look at that, and I need to find out what it's about. That information's there. It's never going anywhere, and it's not changing. It's not like the internet where you look up something today and it's one way, and tomorrow it's changed because they're changing things to fit the narrative.
Quickly.
Yes.
And making it punishable if you spout a different doctrine. Have you ever seen the movie Fahrenheit 450?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We are there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, yeah, we're there and getting
We
there
are.
fast and going fast. It's going to
Yeah.
be worse than that.
Oh,
It's going to be worse than that. So you did the bloodlines of the elite. Remember
oh,
that one? Oh
bloodline
man.
invaders. Yeah.
Yeah. Bloodline invaders. Yeah. I read that. And, that led you, on quite the clue trail. And see, that's another thing. Something like that starts you on another trail. And then you go, wow, maybe I need to check this out and this out and this out. What did I miss? So it's all good stuff.
That
Uh,
series was channeled, by the way. I mean,
yeah,
my wife, when I did that it's been almost 4 years ago. She said I wasn't the same person, and it was just, it was quite amazing. It was and eventually that led to Lilith.
yes,
Yeah.
that's on my list here too.
Yeah.
The Lilith series, that was a big series, and I downloaded all of them and I watched them over, every
Wow.
now and then,
They're
because
powerful.
yes, I mean, it's like I missed something there, and then I get that, and it's like, wow, and then hearing that over and over, you just build on your knowledge. And what I learned back then has changed till now. But when I do that refresher, it's like, wow, I know all about that stuff now. And it's like I can just measure my knowledge. It's
It's
amazing.
cool, isn't it?
Oh yeah. I don't know how many other people do that, but and then I do things like, and we did the Lost Book of King Og.
Oh yeah. I love that.
And that was short. I really should do a series on this. If I could find somebody
Do it.
else who has that, I would love to read the whole book over and have just a, thing on that. That would be good. So if anybody wants to volunteer and you got the book, let me know.
Get the book. You should have it in your library. It's part of our history.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a time when this planet supported a life that would be considered gargantuan.
Mm-hmm.
And they were intelligent beings.
Mm-hmm.
They ate us.
Yeah, but
say?
I learned something from all that. When these giants were here, I did a lot of studying on that and how and what was going on from what they were saying in there. And I realized, how does that affect me today? What's the point? My buddy kept asking me, so you're reading all this stuff. What does that have to do with us now?
Everything.
And I said, yeah, but history repeats itself.
Yeah.
And if you remember the book of King Og, he had this, everything was lush and green and things were good, right? And one of the giants, he was like a farmer, and another one herded the beast, the big giant beast. But then there was something that happened that affected the earth, and the beast started dying and the crops started failing. And then they had to start eating the serpents in the sea and the animals out of the sea because there was none left on land. And I'm thinking, okay, well, then it goes into this all about this moon child and the big war and stuff like that. Well, I'm like, okay, that tells me there was a cataclysm coming along. Something affected the earth, and these giants couldn't reproduce because it was all about the women. There was no women that could reproduce, right?
That's why the moon child was so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, well, why did all the big animals die off? We're just assuming that it was from the plants and not having any plants. But they were dying off because they were eating them, of course, and they probably weren't producing either. What if it was affecting all the reproduction of the giants and the giant animals? Now there was no reproduction, and they were going to fight over who could reproduce, because that's what it's all about. Even in the animal world, it's about, the wolf, the coyote, whatever, the rabbits, they produce as many as they can to keep the stuff going, correct?
Humans do it all the time.
Absolutely. And when you can't reproduce, then you start fighting amongst yourselves, and which the giants did. They fought over this moon child, and they were destroying each other. And with, and why not? What the heck, And then why couldn't they repopulate? Because there was no women left to repopulate. They couldn't repopulate.
Well,
Period.
remember, it was Nebuchadnezzar that kidnapped the moon child.
Yep.
And
yes.
Nebuchadnezzar was serving Yahweh.
Yes.
And, that's where Og had the whole issue. And there's a back eschatology to all that, was that in many other books, even in there where I got them was even from the Vatican, Yahweh came in a spaceship. The Elohim is a warlike species.
Yeah.
And they came in because, as Og said, the giants all worshipped higher deities than themselves.
Yes. Yes.
And there was a hell of a war. Now, if you've ever read Hapgard's book, his theory is, and in fact, there's good validation behind here. It seems to be tying in that our solar system was tore up by the passing of a red dwarf star.
Mm-hmm.
And the result of this star, when it interacted with our sun, was the radiation, the cosmic rays that came in. Mm-hmm. And it's just my theory that what I think happened was that these giants went insane. Mm-hmm. Because we're finding with humans, if we're exposed to high doses of cosmic rays, which we are now, our magnetopause is weakening. Mm-hmm. It drove them crazy.
Yes. Yes.
And with this passing star through our solar system, it brought the flood.
Yep.
And the cataclysm that resulted from that. I also believe that there was a magnetic pole flip.
Yeah.
Happening at the same time. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, see, I think I don't know if I remember reading there were several places I've read about these giants, and the thing was they knew that the flood was coming. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and it was in there, I think, that they knew this was coming.
They knew
what it. They got nothing to lose. They know something's coming. They're running out of food. They don't have any way to reproduce. And they're going to they're literally fighting amongst themselves, because the Elohim are plotting them against each other to battle themselves out to get rid of them and start over. That's the whole
genocide.
Yes.
Well, yes. The Elohim are good about that. I'm just reading, another perspective on Moses on the Exodus, mm-hmm. that he purposely planned this genocide of the Hebrews that mm-hmm. only allowed, it's eugenics, but only allowed the young to enter into the promised land. Ah. You know why? Because the old, they're no longer producers.
Well, I got a thing about that too. If you're old, you have old beliefs, and if you're young, you could program that young person into anything you want them. They could argue.
Well, I think that's one of the sad things, Robert, that I try to express, is that the Western culture, we lost something. In Middle Eastern cultures, the family unit was typically a square that had an inside court. And within every family structure, it was honored to have the grandparents there. Mm-hmm. And it was the responsibility of the younger generations to, in fact, support the grandparents, because the grandparents brought knowledge, mm-hmm. wisdom.
Yes. Well, they passed on their knowledge to the young children. But if you take away the grandparents, you take away the parents, that child is a blank. Now you have the state or the government come in, or whoever you want comes in, and they program that child with whatever they want, because now they become the grandparents and the parents. You have a fresh slate, and they have all new beliefs. They have all new everything, and they can't look around and say, well, that guy says it's wrong. Well, because that guy's gone. You got rid of him too. There is no more new beliefs. It's just the one belief, or whoever's in charge belief.
Yeah. That's why I'm glad, I was abused as a child, but, life has a way of paying dividends. I was mm-hmm. 15 years old out on my own, like mm-hmm. many others. I grew up at a perfect time, 1970. Mm-hmm. And I tell you what, I got no complaints. It was the best freaking time of my life. I mean, again, I was an entrepreneur, very,
Mm-hmm.
very young. I worked for Concerts West for 6 months as a roadie. Got to see all the bands, dealt a lot of drugs, and made a shitload of money and pissed it away. I didn't give a shit, you
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Money meant nothing to me. I didn't have any
Mm-hmm.
respect for it,
Mm-hmm.
and I've paid a lesson for that. But back
Oh
then,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, back in the day, I mean, even myself, I have had things, and you don't think about that stuff. You just think, oh well, it's
yeah.
money, and you blow it, and you move on, and you call it a good day. you know, and you think, but it's when you get older that you go, oh, I might have to retire someday, and then you start settling down and buying a house, or having kids or getting married, and then now you're staying put more, and you're thinking, where did I do with all that money? Man, if I had all that money, if I had $10 for every 100 I made, I'd be rich.
Well,
yeah.
here's the thing. I'll give you a little secret. You already are.
Mm.
Um, you don't. I know that it goes against all financial planning, but there is a belief that says the universe is not lacking in anything. Neither
Mm.
is the earth.
Mm-hmm.
All the gold except for what we've shot out in rockets and maybe what the Anunnaki took is still here.
Yep.
Um, what I've learned about wealth is a state of mind.
Mm. Absolutely.
I've known
Absolutely.
some billionaires that are just assholes, and I've known some hundredaires that were lovely, lovely people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I
In fact,
I
I
can
kind of
see.
like thousandaires, and they're kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. There's all kinds. I mean, I've met them too. You got people who were. I used to work at a dude ranch, and they had all kinds of walks of people come there,
Oh
and
yeah, that'd be cool.
yeah, oh yeah, and so you got people, especially people who come from Chicago, and some people were so nice, and other people, oh, you just turn your head and walk away like, oh man, I can't wait till they leave. I mean,
Uh,
but yeah, it was trying to please everybody. It was a really hard thing.
how
I
old
learned a
were you?
lot. Uh,
Oh,
Shoot, I worked there, twice, three different times until I was 40.
okay.
And before that, I worked in the service industry with horses and things pretty much my whole life. Put it that way.
Well, if you've worked with horses, that says a lot about who Robert V is. So
that
it's
that's
true.
this is
It's
true.
fact.
I had my own riding stable there for quite a few years. Did
Excellent.
did
Excellent.
petting zoos and pony rides, and I had wagons and team of mules, and you name it, I did it. It was a lot. It was a lot of fun. Meet a lot of people, went a lot of places. I didn't have a lot of money, but you, when you're
Did
running
you
a
have a good
farm,
time?
oh, I had the best time. It was the best time of my life.
See that it's the experience. I keep
Mm-hmm.
telling people that the meaning of life is the experience.
Mm-hmm.
There's no
Absolutely.
other purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And the funny part is, I was, I was telling people to do the same thing back then, and now I'm doing what they're doing. It's so funny how the things rolls reverse. Because I would go riding my horse every day. I'd ride and break and train and trim horses, and just have good times. Every day was a good time. People would stop over, and we'd go for trail rides and adventures. They're like, I'm going to hang out with you today because it's an adventure.
Excellent.
Yeah, but
Now, what part of the
now
country was this?
Wisconsin.
Okay,
Wisconsin. Lived
cool.
there all my life until I came here to North Dakota, where it's cold. and but it's cowboy country out here. You can't beat it. It's cowboy
Excellent.
country.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like the good life.
Yes, yes, it is. Cows, and I went to my a bunch of brandings now, so that's a lot of fun. That is.
I would say that. I guess it depends on your point of view.
Well, there's cowboys riding and roping, and I mean, everybody from grandma to the little kids gets in on branding. day. You got grandma. She's been around for a while, so they feed you food. Trust me, they feed you food. And some of them, when they get done, they throw a dance and a party afterwards, and there's food and drink and music and you name it. And other ones, they still feed you food. And the everybody gets out there. Some are doing the cutting, and some are doing the poking, and some are giving the shots, and some are the kids get out there. You should see the little kids. Two little kids will get out there and wrestle that little calf to the ground, and they're holding them, and it's hilarious. They get up, they dust themselves off, and do it again. And you got the little kids on the horse that could barely, hold a rope, and that horse just walks in there and they're trying to rope, and then they hold on that rope so hard, and the calf. I'm thinking, man, it's amazing what little kids.
In some cultures and some circles, that would be considered, barbaric, I guess is the word.
Yeah.
They would say, well, what about you're burning a living animal. They don't understand the culture and the life.
Yeah, people in the city probably would be offended by it, but
down in Texas, the brand is, if your cattle get out, if it doesn't have a brand, it's subject to be, let's say we say, gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That brand protects that cow. Actually, people don't understand that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, they got registers for the brands and stuff. So like out here versus Wisconsin. So when you're selling a horse or something, you got to go get the brand it checked so that, they check to see if there's a brand.
Cattle rustling in Texas is still a hanging offense.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
And they will.
Yeah.
They won't wait for the cops.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Oh, I
been a few stories, and because it does happen. People don't realize. I had a friend who he lost, I guess, close to 30 head of cattle.
Wow.
Yeah. Came up with the with the cow trailers, and middle of the night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's big money in it, and they're just sitting out there. It's like cha-ching, cha-ching, man.
It's a couple $1,000s on the hoof, depending on what the price is.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. A couple trailer loads, and they take them off and sell them in the middle of the night, and you're up the creek. You lost a ton of money.
Yeah.
They can make or break a farm nowadays.
Well, that's why I know down in Texas, the Texas Rangers, that's one of their specialties.
Wow.
Yeah. And they, the Texas Rangers, they always get their man.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Or a woman or a horse.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, anyway.
Well, you lived in Texas for quite a while then, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you moved to Colorado for the weather?
No, my company, we were the first company to bring pay at the table to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
We invented that technology, and today, well, before this thing that hit us, when you would pay at the table, that was our technology.
Oh, nice.
And so I was living in Austin at the time, and I have been the CEO of a number of software internet companies, and payment was just something that I was always attracted towards. It's one of the industries that are never going to go away, because payment commerce will always be tied. And it was just the right time at the right place. It was when technology was coming, and particularly where you could actually take a credit card terminal, and we helped design the ergonomics of it so that it actually would fit in a server's hand. And so as a result, we used a contractor up here in Denver, and so I moved up here to supervise the development of the software.
That's what brought you to Colorado.
Yeah, worked with the FBI, the Secret Service, Treasury Department, was testified before the Senate Banking Committee, and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
Wow. Makes my life kind of boring. But you got to rub shoulders with a lot of people that, knew things. And is that this is the big question, kind of. Is that what set you on this path? I mean, you used to be really heavily into the church stuff, but then
I
when you,
invented the first mobile payment giving app.
yeah, I remember you
I did.
saying, yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool,
Yeah.
but um, when when you were in the church and you're rubbing with all these bigwigs and things like that, and you were seeing what was going around, did you ever realize that there's something wrong here when in the church you're saying give, and it'll send you to heaven kind of thing, and the church needs money and blah blah blah, and these other people are getting so rich, and you're thinking this guy's flying on a big plane, driving a fancy car, and mom and her kids at the milk stand, they don't got $5 to put in the pot here for the church. I mean, did you ever think about that?
Yeah. I mean, I was with Joyce Myers when she first started having women's Bible meeting in her home out in Fenton.
Mm-hmm.
I lived in Fenton and Missouri, and it was odd because my life has. It is very odd because I started. I never planned it, but got to know all of the televangelist. I
Mm-hmm.
know him very well,
Mm-hmm.
and it was really when I had developed invented the software for mobile giving that I began my awakening. Really started to hitting into high gear because I began to see a lot, as you were asking, and yeah, as I look back, remember one particular individual who was actually President Trump's spiritual advisor,
Mm-hmm.
sitting in the her mansion, which was two doors down from Tiger Woods' home, um, and I remember a statement being made by this person that said, "Winning souls is only secondary. It's what we can bring into the door that counts." I saw, yeah, and it was from that because I was an added believer. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I can still speak in tongues. I
Yep.
can still lay hands on the sick. I preached in prisons. I preached in hospitals. I worked in the healing ministries of some of the most recognized evangelists. And when I realized that it was all a fake, it's all a fraud.
Mm-hmm.
There is no Jesus. There is no God. There is no Lord. It is a fraud, and it's one for control, and it's one for simply financial power. And that financial power transfers over into political power. And that's the true goal, is the political power. That's why we still have the Vatican, which is still the single largest political power in the world today.
Yeah.
So it's a
It's
long
like the,
answer to a question, but there you go.
yeah. No, but they're all tied together. That's
Oh, all of them.
exactly right. They take from the small guy. They're concerned about the money, and that brings me up to another thing. Uh, and we will use code words here. Just letting you know, because this is YouTube. Um, my buddy had asked me today, and he says, you know, I was looking at the book of Revelation and said something about the mark, blah blah blah. And he says, this thing they're going to give us, this blah blah blah, is he says, how come there's none of the church people speaking up about taking the blah blah blah? And I says, huh. I says to him, I think it's got to be because if they take the blah blah blah, then they'll be able to come back to church and give their money to the church again. That's why they're not saying anything. Are you?
Yeah.
Am I probably right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the reason why it's coming to pass is that we've had 2,000 years of the programming that caused it to come to pass. But you're correct. The faith movement, they're really in between a rock and a hard place, because either you have the faith to overcome this, or this is a punishment of God.
Yeah.
So you got, how do you balance that? And the problem is, I still follow the 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 giving industry for churches. The religious giving industry
Hmm.
is a one. Are you ready for this? Nearly a $500 billion industry.
Oh yeah.
When I was working in that, I worked with the FBI, and the amount of theft
Hmm.
that took place each year in churches, people would not give if they knew what was really going on. It's true.
Well,
And,
I think I think most people, um, they shut their mind to what's going on.
but to answer your
Literally.
question, this is the mark of the beast.
Yes. Well,
It
yeah,
is. It is.
exactly. It
Yeah,
is.
it
But
is.
if you were to ask your church, they would say, no, no, no,
Mm-mm,
no, it's
mm-mm,
not.
mm.
You just take it, and God will make it right. Blah blah blah. And regardless if it's the God of the Bible or not, and this is the way I look at it. I look at the Bible and I read it, and I go, it's like a history book, or it's somebody who had visions and said, I see something in the future, I'm going to put it down, and you can't tell if it was a god or an alien or whatever, so you just don't know. These people were channeling stuff throughout the whole Bible, but what you can't disregard everything they channeled. You have to say,
Mm-mm.
well, this might be true, but did they get it perfectly right? Well, and then you can say, just, well, God said don't do that, or you're going to, double he double hockey sticks, because that's not what's going to happen. But if you take that, and I researched this, if it shuts off, you have that disconnect with the God factor. They say it affects. It's saying it affects your hippocampus, which is your creative, that front part of your front lobe or whatever, that affects that part. So you literally become a zombie, which goes back to, I hate to say it and refer back to movies, but it goes back to the zombie movies. Why do you think they've been putting out all these zombie movies? For no reason. Uh, they're telling you something. All the people are going to become zombies, and maybe not the flesh eating, kind, but if you're not connected or you don't have that awareness, you're going to be a zombie.
Well, I remember Isaiah 1:19 that says, obedience is better than sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the mindset. And when, my awakening was, it was like a second birth. It was painful. I was so rooted in the faith.
Mm-hmm.
And when that, the minute the Rhema hit my consciousness, um, in a flash of an eye, literally like that, it exploded into my consciousness. And my wife will tell you, I collapsed on the den into the fetal position in the middle of the room, and
Well.
it so crushed the core of my belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a long time for me to come to grasp, number one, to the reality,
Mm-hmm.
but two, to begin to process it as to, well, then what do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
for me, I realized that there was a whole universe of knowledge that I had been denied.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, it has been my passion and my drive.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, because that's once you wake up
Yeah.
and you start looking at the world differently around you, it really looks
Well,
different.
I walked away from everything. I walked away from the corporate world. I was heavily involved in the venture capital arena, heavily involved in politics. I mean, heavily involved.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when you meet presidents, vice presidents, senators, judges, and you begin to see something that's common in all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I see so often is that within every part of what we call societal culture, it's a masquerade.
Mm-hmm.
It's all a masquerade.
Yeah.
And whether your weakness is religion, whether your weakness is politics, whether your weakness, what I found in all of that was that you have this presence that says, oh, yes, yes, brother, we love you. And let's say we have a political issue. What we're going to need to do, and immediately it's conniving, it's meaning how you begin to strategize. And I've been in meetings where they deliberately manipulate the religious people, the evangelicals,
Mm-hmm.
and saw the same thing on the Democrat side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when that hit me, I mean, it was kind of like this cascading effect. One domino fell, and that fell upon another, and that fell upon another. And so I finally came out to the point where I had to discover all over again, what is love? What is the purpose? If love exists, then why do we have all this hate? If love is the objective, we have all these religions, but they've all failed. Why? And then here we are today.
Yeah. Because well, I think a lot of that religion stuff was set up to manipulate people. That's all it is.
It is. It is. It's a trap. And, we don't celebrate Christmas. We don't put up lights. We don't put up trees. I refuse to partake in it because here's the illusion.
Hmm.
It's a double whammy. Number one, you've bought into this spell that God really does love you,
Mm-hmm.
and that there really is a need for a savior, and that gets complicated. But yet you use pagan beliefs in order to support that
Mm-hmm.
which is supposed to be religious and of non-pagan origin. And finally, what people don't realize is that they really are worshiping their true God, and that's the God of materialism.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that.
And it
Now,
sucks. It sucks.
yes. Yes.
I mean,
Now I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I got Christmas lights up,
eh,
but I use them as marker lights, and I have them up all year round. So it's for color and
I
pizzazz. But
love colored lights.
yeah,
Yeah,
who doesn't?
yeah, who
And
doesn't?
I send out Christmas cards every year because it's just something fun to do. I mean, I
It's
like the
sentimental.
fellowship. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
fellowship thing. It's like, hey, Merry Christmas. I don't know what else to say. It's like, but it lets me know, or I try. It's like I'm letting somebody know, hey, I'm out here and I still remember who you are, and I'm, how you
Yep.
doing? And it's the one time a year that I can do that. I could do it any time of the year, but it's the time when they get the cards and you send them out, and you know what I mean.
Oh, I know. I mean, I'm not. We. Sometimes someone may accuse us of being so cynical, and it's just not that. It's just I've just gotten at this point in my life where, to be candid, it's a lot of work to put lights up, and that means you're going to have to take them back down.
Absolutely.
And where I live, you have the warm weather that where you can put them up, but by the time you're going to get them down, it's going to be cold.
Oh yeah, yeah,
you know,
definitely, definitely.
and I just just like, no, thank you. But we do believe in the solstice because
Mm-hmm.
that is, at least from our point of view, how Lynn and I look at things, is in fact the moment that we know that renewal of life is coming forth.
Mm-hmm.
That's the significance of the solstice, is that we have made it through this point of which we call the coldness of winter. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing about it is, it leads to the newness of life that's going to spring forth.
Well, and that's so funny because see, that's where the religion part piggybacked onto all of that,
You
because
did.
most religions before that, like the pagan religions, the Indian religions, they celebrated these solstices
Yeah.
as just like you were saying, and then they said, how can we figure that out? And let's jump on it with a baby Jesus boy, and then we'll set up a fake manger. And when I told my buddy one day that Jesus was born in a cave, and he could have been born in a cave, but he couldn't be in one of these little wooden mangers because they didn't have wood. He started thinking about that. What? Oh my God, everything's a lie.
Well, here's the thing. If you study history, the thing about Herod was a remarkable king. Number one, he never ordered a census because that was against Roman law. And he
Mm-hmm.
was not about to buck Roman law. But the thing about King Herod, he cultivated his kingdom to where, number one, it was his decree that all children from the age of 4 to 17 went to school.
Mm-hmm.
They had to learn to read, to write. They are aware of the arts. Herod in his kingdom, if you look at the port at Caesarea, I mean, it was
Mm-hmm.
one of the eighth wonders of the world.
Mm-hmm.
What they did, the architecture, the knowledge that they had. And so what we have in this pretending scene is that we have Herod coming out here. He has this terrible thing about wanting to slaughter, which would be infanticide. That's what it was. And they portrayed him as being a person that this was not historically correct.
Yes. Yes. So a lot of that stuff in there is not really
You know what I ask
historically correct.
Christians?
Yeah.
I ask them very simply. I said, listen, there's a book called The Search. It's one that I recommend anyone who's struggling, because this guy went out to prove that there was a person named Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And what he found out at the end, there was no such person. And there's a reason for it. You know, we have an educated populace.
Mm-hmm.
They're at a crossroads on the trading route. It was the Silk Road that led into Rome.
Mm-hmm.
It was cosmopolitan. Jerusalem was a very cosmopolitan town. Yes, it was under military occupancy, but still the Romans brought a lot of culture to Jerusalem.
Yep.
And the thing that I said, if you had this miracle work, or you had this whole event, why did we not have one picture? Not one sculpture, not one person that could have drawn it out. But you know what we do have on the road from Jerusalem to Rome? Pornography. We have tits. We have that the ability of man's epitome of his spiritual highness coming from Jerusalem is that they're painting women's breasts along the way.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe it's just me, Robert. I don't know.
No, but you're exactly right. Out of all of that, all the statues those Romans made, all the stuff that they did, and this was supposed to be one of the most important figures in history, and they forgot all about him. Really? You know, I mean, it's kind of like some other things we don't question.
Well,
in today's world.
You know, it's Robert. It's what drove me. I mean, when I found out who Vespasian was, well, 50 years I was in the Christian religion. I never heard of Vespasian. But if you read Josephus, you'll find all out about Vespasian. And then here is one of the clues, like we're reading the Pyramid Code. Here's one of the clues that I got hip to. So Josephus was considered by both Jews and Christians to be the record keeper, the historian at the turn of the millennium. The problem is, do you know what Josephus's full name is?
No.
Flavius Josephus.
Oh, Flavius. Yeah. Okay.
Do you know whose Vespasian's name is? Flavius. Vespasian. Do you know who Titus is? Titus is the son of Vespasian.
Yeah.
Titus was the one where the crucifixion story was built upon. When Titus surrounded Jerusalem from 67 AD until 69 AD, he did not allow the Jews to go in on the holy days into the temple. This was an insult to the Jews. And so while the whole time, now the circumference of the city of Jerusalem with the gates, the wall that they built was 26 miles in circumference. And that's a big wall.
Yes.
And what they did is that when they finally had the last part, they let the Jews in to the high holy days, and they came in. They came in, over 1 million people crowded into Jerusalem. And it was at that time that Titus sealed the city, and the horror that took place after that. But it was during Titus's reign that, in fact, 3 people were crucified. But Ebenezer was not what people thought. He was, in fact, a Messiah to the rebels that he represented. But yeah, that's where the story actually originated from.
Okay. Yeah. And see, there you go, about herding the people up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You make it was a big
terrible.
wall, you let the people in, and you go. And I think they did that something similar with the pagan guys, the Druids. Didn't they call them all to an island? And yeah, now we're going to have a big meeting, and then let's wipe them out. Gone.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that, and in that, women were selling their children and eating them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how bad it was. But yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, everything is, history repeats itself.
It does.
They have the same I don't know what it is, what you would call it, but it's not the same story, but it's the same plan. You just change a few things and you get the same plan going, and it works every single time because people follow hey, it seems good. They're going to give me a free loaf of bread and some money if I go through the door there, and I don't even have to do anything. Great. And you walk through the door, and there's always a price for something.
Always is. Knowledge comes. It comes with the Christ. In the Christ story, by the way, it goes back to ancient Egypt. I mean, it's Dionysus is who it is. Yes. I mean, in fact, we know that in one of the videos I did, I actually showed a coin that showed the true crucifixion was actually the serpent.
Yes, I remember that one.
Yeah,
I remember that one.
Okay, well, wait a minute.
There's always serpents in the
they're
history.
Everywhere.
Yeah, serpents and eagles. Yeah, and throughout history, it's just serpents and eagles. And there's something to it. I got a book here that talks a lot about that, and I don't know. It's not one you referred me to, but one I found, and I really enjoy it because it's got all that kind of stuff in there about the serpents and eagles.
And a good book for the reference, and people who doubt the story, go and get the book, The Two Babylons. You'll really see how the Roman government is, in fact, Christianity.
Yeah.
Everything about it.
Well, yeah. If they see, the thing is if they kind of invented it, they could control it. And
God, who is of the Christian God, can't be the Hebrew God. But anyway, that's not what we're here to do. But it's like, how did that happen? But if you look at the hierarchy, it's exactly what the Roman Senate and the Roman power structure is structured after.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So,
man, what a thing. I mean, we went through all of this. I mean, I remember that we had the series on the Kabbalion.
Yes, I love that. Yeah.
Yes, we had I think you did a bunch on the life and teachings of. And see, I get these little cool things, and I make notes.
Yeah.
Here's one that I haven't read. I think you've referred this one.
You're gonna love that one.
I have not. I've not read this one yet, but I'm.
Do you see the author's name?
It's End-all be all.
End-all to be all.
End-all be all. Oh yeah, end-all be all.
Yeah, that's what it means.
End-all be all. There you go.
But that is a great book, and I'll tell you why. Because there is some theories out there that really it's not a God that rules this. It's not an intelligence. It's actually a virus. And a virus is actually the most complex. Here in Colorado, just 50 miles to the west, is the largest single what we call natural virus organism. And it's
the birch trees, isn't it?
It's the aspen.
Oh, the aspens. The aspen. Yeah, aspen, birch tree, something like that.
Same characteristics. And I'm reading a white paper right now about God. And allow me this is kind of a cool point. So here's what God is. God is consciousness, a fifth force of nature, which constitutes the multiverse along with gravity, electromagnetism, and the strong and weak nuclear forces. God is the evolution of consciousness at the subatomic particle level, a fifth force of nature, a what they call a psychon constituted of subatomic particles that evolve into itself that actually becomes thought of consciousness, which is God.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I keep telling everybody there is no God to pray to. There is, okay, you got a God, but it's everything and everything around us, even ourselves. But the thing is he don't care. The real God would not care if you live or die or do anything. He's there just to observe. He don't want to interfere because you're creating, you're doing, you're thinking, and if he's so perfect, anything he would do would only be perfect, right?
Yeah.
And therefore, what's the point of doing it? Because if he knows everything, he's already knows what he's going to do, which would upset the whole balance of everything. There's no purpose in it. He's just there like you watching a movie to observe and eat the popcorn he is, and once in a while he can yell at the screens, oh no, but other than that, he can't do anything. He's not there to do anything.
Someone says, gee, is it giant? Can I come on with you? Sure you can. The thing that I look at this, so when I was involved in ministry work, it was always, what was the attendance and how can we bring people in?
Yeah.
And I told people the thing that we're